So I'll just do the small introduction, and then I let Allanah and Chris go on, and they will do the share screen. Yes.
I'm doing it as we speak. Hold on a second.
Perfect. So welcome everyone to the OCA Days. I'm really excited to share with you what we found out with Good Science team. My name is Virginie. I've been an OCA member for 4 years now. So you can see my t-shirt from my first OCA Days. I still have it. I'm a functional analyst. I'm working at CoPTZ, which is a small company based in Brussels, in Belgium. We are a worker cooperative. So I joined the board this year. And I remember my first OCA Days. So I still have the t-shirt. I remember Rebecca being there to welcome me with this 2 big t-shirt that I use as a pajama now. I remember also a room filled with a lot of people, a lot of guys, some women. And you can see me, so the last event, you can see me in the middle, a little bit lost on the big room with all the people. And I remember this huge community, quite shy. A lot of people are there behind their computers, but really welcoming at the same time. And with my functional profile, 4 years ago, I didn't know at all how to contribute to the OCA. I didn't know what was GitHub. I didn't know what was the run bot and things like that, where I should go to contribute. And I remember, Gonzalo from Argentina helped me out with all these. He coached me on all these tools. And that's really how I get to discover what is OCA. I went later on the website, but I had some issue finding out my way. It's really when I talk to people during the physical events that I know what is OCA. And this will, of course, stay in the future, but I really hope we will get things better so that people from different profiles can get the information they need when they need it. And by different profiles, I mean technical profile, functional profile, sponsors, business people, final users, even people working at Odoo that don't know about OCA. That's really what we want to do with the new communication strategy. And at the beginning of this year, the board decided to get some help. It was clear at this stage that we were really expert at collaborating, doing open source together, but during good website, good communication strategy, we were not so good at all. And so we decided to work with Good Sense. And Allanah and Chris are here today to discuss what we've done so far, what we've discovered. And I thank you a lot for your refreshing ideas, Allanah and Chris. And the floor is yours.
Thank you. So we're so excited to be here and talk to you about this. Just to give you a bit of context for where we are. So Chris and I and most of the Good Sense team are based here in the middle of the world in New Zealand. And I am down here in the bottom, halfway down the South Island. This is me tramping in Arthur's Pass National Park, not far from where I live in Christchurch. And Chris is nearer the top of the North Island, and this is him out enjoying his favourite things in New Zealand too. So when we first started this project, I have to admit that I had vaguely heard of Odoo and I had never heard of OCA at all. Chris knew a bit more than me because he comes from a techie background. But the more that we found out about you and what you do, the more excited we were to work with you. One of the things that was part of our brief was, as Virginie has mentioned, getting ready to build the new website. But there was this idea that we couldn't just build a new website without having a really clear picture of actually what we needed the website to say, what we needed. I say we, it's very we in this collaborative space, what we needed the website to do, who it needed to talk to, and how that could all be structured. So we actually started by saying, like you, we know that when we collaborate on things, we get much more powerful results and we get much more useful information. And so that's where we started with our project. So many of you will have been involved in that process. We had workshops with somewhere between 25 and 30 people across a whole range of time zones and countries. We asked you what was important about OCA and what you would like to see in the communications strategy. And we asked you what was important about OCA. Why do you get excited about it? Why do you love it? As well as that, nearly 400 of you responded to our survey, which was a phenomenal survey response. It was really exciting to see so much interest and excitement in the project. And from that, we learned three things. Well, actually, we learned lots of things, but three of the things that we learned, one of them is that ODU is made up of a massively diverse community of smart and committed and passionate people. And that those smart and committed and passionate people are why anything at all gets done. So you make everything happen. And even just a week ago, these whole OCA days happen because people put their hand up and say, yes, I'll help. And that's amazing. And this little picture down the right is a graph from the survey that we did. And that says that these amazing, diverse people get things done, and sometimes they have really different ideas on how we should get things done. So there's no massive amounts of consistency across some of that. So that's where we started, to pull out the threads of, if you all think differently about some stuff, where is it that you all find the same things? Where is it that you all agree, I guess? So from that, our first goal was to say, what is it that we want to say about OCA? Who are they as an organisation? Who are you as an organisation? And when we're talking to people outside the organisation, and we want to encourage people to come and be part of the community, what can we tell them that would make them excited about coming and being part of this community? And from that, we agreed some brand values, so the values for the organisation, and some key messages and a new tagline. So with those values, the idea of the values is that they don't represent so much the individuals in OCA, but OCA as an organisation, and also the work that comes out of OCA. So what is it that is important in the way that OCA works? And we agreed on 5 values for that. My screen's just frozen. There we go. So those 5 values that we agreed with, that OCA and everything you do, number 1 value across everybody was that it's cooperative. And then it's robust. You don't just work together. It's not just cooperative, but it's strong, it's robust, and it's organised. So the whole systems, the structures, and the work, and the modules, everything is organised. It's not boring. Cooperative, robust, and organised might sound a bit boring, but it's not at all. It's a vibrant community made up of people and new things and innovation that's happening all the time. And across all of that, there's a really strong value of independence. So everybody working as part of the community still has their independence, and then that those modules are independent too. And then one of the other things that came through really strongly in terms of what do people love about OCA is OCA Days. And in particular, almost everyone said they really like meeting people for a beer who they've only ever worked on code sprints for, or who has only ever been a name in GitHub. And so we imagined, if you were meeting OCA for a beer at the next OCA Days that we can get together, and that OCA was a person that you were happy to follow and to lead, to be led by to the next bar, the next drink, what would that person be like? And that person would be a seeker or a realist organisation. So as a whole, the organisation seeks out new approaches to solve problems in practical ways. And there's some key phrases around that which we'll share with you. but I just want to read a couple of them to you. So one is that this person who you have a beer with, OCA, is independent, authentic, and curious. They seek new paths, motivate others to find new approaches and perspectives that are grounded in reality. They encourage individual initiative and provide others with the opportunity to learn, grow, and work together to solve problems in realistic ways. And so that is who OCA is as a whole. That's great, that's who you are, but that doesn't really tell people why they should want to be part of the community. So that's where we went next. And we looked at all of the different things that you said were important to you about working with OCA. And why do you do it? And what benefits are there for you and for your clients and for functional people and integrators and sponsors across those audiences? And when we promised the board that we would do this back when we started the project, they went, yeah, good luck with that. And were maybe a little bit skeptical that we could get to a point that that did kind of sum up where OCA was. And we really feel that we have. And we've done that because you were so open in terms of your contributions to that process. And so there are three key messages for OCA. The first one is that as an organisation, you create more successful, better value ERP solutions faster with easier access to reliable, high quality apps and open upgrades. The second key message is that you work independently in a community of peers who see you, they support you, and they learn from you. And so that captures all that community and collaboration benefits that people choose. They get from being part of OCA, even if they're doing Odoo elsewhere. And then the last one is that you want people to be part of OCA because they're going to be part of a global network that's fostering open source excellence. And this is one that really surprised us, that commitment to open source was just as important as the commitment to the actual enterprise software or to the collaborative community. All right, so with all of those things, OCA as a name doesn't present those messages. We can say, how can we take a really tiny version of that so that if that's all somebody sees, they know a little bit about who you are and what you do. And this will be familiar to you, hopefully. You will have seen it over the last few weeks. But OCA is making Odoo mightier together. And this is a tagline that can be used across everything that you're doing for the next forever, if you like, with your work. And the reason that it's been chosen is because it captures all of those things that we talked about right back when we first did the survey. So it's about making things happen in OCA because you make them happen. And the things that you make happen are about saying that Odoo is good, but Odoo with OCA can be better, it can be stronger, it can do more for people and for clients and for businesses and for modules. And that all of that happens because you do it together. So OCA is making Odoo mightier together. Right, so that is the logo, which is all very good. But how do we then take that and turn it into something that you can use in a marketing strategy? So the next bit that we look at is stories and channels. So stories is a shorthand way of talking about how do we take our key messages and create ways of talking about OCA that inspire people to want to be part of it. So the model that we normally use is to say that we're going to come up with 4 different types of stories that OCA tells because it's manageable and it's practical and it's useful. So it's stuff that the OCA board can do. It's stuff that they can share with the community so the community can do. It's stuff that the community can do by themselves. And the aim of them is to be engaging so that people get inspired by it, that they're broad enough that they're not just one story all the time, and that they'll be able to last for the next 2 to 5 years. The second thing is once we know who we are, that's the messages. We know what we're going to tell people, that's the stories. We need to know how do we get the stories to people, and that's the channels. So that was the second part of the strategy development that we worked on. And with the stories, what we found is that a lot of the stories that will fit for you to tell and practical are things that you're already doing, and we're able to see examples of that in the work that you do. So we looked at 4 different story types. The first one is that a bunch of the stories that you need to tell in OCA are about OCA. So there are things like, we've found our communications agency, or OCA Days news. This is what's happening with OCA Days. And so Virginie's post up the top, this was an example of a news story. It might also be opportunities and updates and events, and it can happen across all the platforms. So it's not just blogs. There might be Twitter posts and Discord posts and newsletters and media and event information. Wherever it's something about OCA, that's an OCA update story. The second type of story example that we've got is good news. So one of the things that was, not good news, information about apps. One of the things that we see in a lot of your communication internally, but a bit less externally, is information about new apps that are available, or the power of the apps and modules that are available in the OCA community, in the repository. And here's an example of how you do that a little bit. So Danielle had a Danielle had a blog post that was tweeted through the OCA Twitter account about how to simplify your tax compliance. So this was predominantly for an internal audience, but it's definitely a story that could be told to raise the profile of OCA externally. The third example that we looked at, the third type of story theme that we recommend, is about good news. So how is it that OCA is really helping people? 2 little examples. Here, Wolfgang, in his talk in 2019, gave an amazing example of how this module was helping the warehouse company and the results that he had with that company in terms of them being really happy with those outputs. And then in a tiny one, Sylvain, I hope you don't mind if you're here, me sharing your tweet from May, but you were like really excited about the fact that you were continually learning stuff. So these are both great examples of the really practical benefits that people get from being part of the community. And last one, I've also borrowed from your team, and that's, if OCA is about people, then we need to make sure that we're telling stories of the people as well. And here is just a little mock-up of a profile of your board member, Frederick, and one way that we might think about how do we tell stories about people. Okay, so the next bit, once we know what stories we want to tell, the next part of the strategy that we've put together with your team is about the channels. And we look at 3 different types of channels. So digital channels, physical channels, and people channels. So networkers and influencers and the organisations that you're part of. And what we do with these is we've put together, and we'll share them with you, a list of the kind of activities that can happen over the next 2 years in order to raise the profile of OCA with your wider audiences. The key thing here is that there's 2 different strands to all of these channels. One of them is stuff that OCA can do as an organisation and that the board can sponsor and make happen. And the other thing is a series of activities, for instance, producing materials that you can share with clients, or providing support for events that you run, that OCA can do to enable you as a membership to go out and be communicating effectively about OCA as well. So the bottom of those all rests with the website. It's where Virginie started at the beginning to say, when I wanted to find out information, I went to the website. And that's going to be the first port of call across all of these channels for OCA to progress with once we've finished the strategic planning process. And for that, I am going to pass you over to Chris.
Right, thanks, Allanah. Right, so as Allanah's talked about, we looked at a whole bunch of the channels, but the central port for a lot of the communication, a lot of the places that people come to is the website, and obviously that's a digital form of communication. And when we were looking at the website in particular, and as we were talking to people through the workshops and through the surveys, and from all the feedback we got, we asked a whole bunch of questions. So we asked things like, why do people head to odocommunity.org? The website, obviously. What are they looking for? What is working on the site? What isn't working on the site? Does the site serve all OCA audiences? And is the site easy to navigate and understand? So we had an amazing array of answers there, and we had some really brilliant feedback, both in the surveys and then particularly in the workshops as well, which was really, really fantastic. And it gave me the opportunity to then step back and then work with Allanah and the rest of our team to have a really good look at how the website is structured and how it serves the needs of the users who are coming to the site. So from all of that information that we put together, we actually then stepped back and had a really deep dive into the site and looked at how it was structured and basically reworked and rebuilt a sitemap and wireframes and a lot of stuff. Imagine there's a lot of people in the room that have done this sort of thing or experienced with this sort of exercise. So that's what I stepped back and did. And what I realized, and with discussion with the board, and we went over this over a number of meetings, is that the site had become over time quite tricky to navigate. And Virginie kind of pointed to this when she made her introduction, that it didn't necessarily speak to everybody. So there were potentially gaps in the audience or gaps in your potential people who you could serve as a community that simply weren't being served. So with that in mind, I reworked the sitemap and did a couple of fairly straightforward things that, well, simple is always complex. So, took the complexity out of it and really tried to make things as simple and as easy to use as possible. So a few steps that we did is that I simplified the top level navigation. I then removed any redundant pages, and this is obviously something that we did in discussion with the board. We then had a real look at the way the site flowed, and we restructured the flow to better improve user experience and make it accommodating for people who might be looking for information that more technical people aren't, or look for people who aren't necessarily functional, but are really just looking at it from the opportunity of using OCA in their business or employing someone to use OCA for them. So we made that as clean and as simple as we possibly could. And as Allanah has spoken to, the news and updates is a really key part of what we want to highlight. So this is communicating from the board or from OCA to potential people who OCA are going to serve. And so we really wanted to highlight the news and updates. And then obviously we realized that GitHub is a really critical part of OCA's day-to-day operations. So we wanted to make the connection between GitHub and the website easier and more obvious. So that's all part of what we've done in the redesign and development of this site. So that's where we're at now, right? So that's been, as you can imagine, it's several months worth of process and lots of discussion, and amazingly, just the most amazing positive feedback, which has been just absolutely brilliant. And we've certainly, I'm pretty certain that I speak for Allanah as well, that we've loved working with the board and with everyone that's given us just some amazing feedback. So that leads us to where we're going next. So we've redesigned the architecture of the site. Now it's time to actually rebuild it. And I'll be working with Graham, learning behind the scenes. The the CMS and really getting deep into how Odoo works and how OCA works, and we'll be then building it. I'm in the process of making the site a lot more search friendly, because as we know, that's what people do. They jump onto whichever search engine they use and type in ERP or whatever they might be looking for, and from there we're going to update the user interface and make the site look a bit better, prettier. So the graphic designer in me is pretty happy about that. And then working with the board, we are preparing to launch a new site in early 2022, ideally. So we haven't discussed a final deadline on that one just yet. But yeah, that's where we're headed. So hopefully that kind of gives everyone who's listening tonight a real sense of excitement about what we've done, and gives you an understanding of the strategy that we've put in place and where we're actually taking that strategy alongside the board and everyone that's working with them. So with that, I'll hand back to Virginie. I think we're going to possibly take some questions either in the chat or jumping into Discord. I'm not sure what I'll let Virginie direct that one. But thank you everyone for this opportunity. Yeah, it's been a heap of fun and looking forward to where we take it.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you, Allanah. So we've done here. I think we have still a couple of minutes if some people have questions or feedback or would like to comment on this. Graham, tell me if I'm wrong. But yes, as Chris just told, we will jump onto the Discord on the Track 1 channel, and we can answer questions directly there in the next minutes. Don't hesitate to share your feedback.
Yeah, I'm happy to answer questions here, and then we will all be on Discord. But yeah, if you have any questions, put them in the chat, and in the next minute or two, and then we can answer them. Cool.
I think you've stunned everybody into chat silence.
Talk.
Yeah. So, thank you very much for the presentation. I guess from my perspective, I'm really excited to see how this develops and how this moves on, and certainly can't wait to get a new website, as well as really ensuring that our communications, I guess, matches actually what we do as a, really highlights all the good stuff that our community does.
Everyone's so excited about Chris delivering you a new website, and I deliver you a list of jobs to do.
So we have had a question come through us from Hendrik. What can people expect from the community in the future again? Now, I'm not sure whether that's something you can answer directly, but perhaps you can try.
So is that about what we can expect for what more is going to come from the communication strategy for you?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, cool. So I can answer a little bit about that. So there's quite a bit more detail that I didn't give you today, because there's only so much of my Kiwi accent you can listen to in half an hour. And there's some real detail provided in each of those channels. So the digital, the physical, and the influencer channels. And that's a combination of stuff. So there is things like saying, yes, OCA Day events will happen, but actually how can OCA as an organisation support the regional groups to run regional events? What might that look like? Maybe what merchandise could they provide, like t-shirts. I want a t-shirt. I like the tie-dyed one. Or how might they put together some forms to make it possible for people to apply for sponsorship to run events, for instance. Also really keen, so this is across all of those channels. There's a really long list. There's also examples, for instance, of how might OCA put together resources, or different OCA members put together resources that everyone could share to use in talking to universities when we're training new developers. So that detail will be provided again over the coming months. The strategy will go to the board and they can work out what there is and isn't budget for, and share that among the community in terms of saying what things might people want to run with in their own sectors or their own regions. I'm not sure that answered your question, Hendrix, but if it didn't, feel free to ask again.
And of course, there'll be an opportunity on Discord directly after this to ask those questions as well.
Great. Okay, well, I'll jump over to Discord then. I think this as well.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Chris, Allanah, of course, Virginie. It was great to hear all of that. And yeah, honestly, we appreciate your efforts so much, and we're really looking forward to what comes out of all of this.
Fantastic.
Looking forward to what comes next.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone. See you.
Thank you.
Enjoy the OCA Days.